The Lifestyle Show, presented by Selena Mackenzie.
It's Culinary Corner time. We're going to be chatting now about the Jackfruit Chronicles with Shahnaz Ahsan. Welcome to the show, Shahnaz.
Thank you so much for having me, Selena.
So, okay, the Jackfruit Chronicles. I'm going to be ignorant now. What is a jackfruit?
Not ignorant at all. A jackfruit is the national fruit of Bangladesh, which is where my family are from. So that's why I wanted to honour that connection in the title of the book. A jackfruit is huge, to be honest. If I had to use one word to describe it, it would be massive. It's got a very prickly skin. It doesn't look particularly inviting. I can see how people would be put off trying to experiment with this huge fruit. So it's got this prickly skin, but you peel it off and then inside are these beautiful yellow segments of really soft, delicious, sweet fruit when it's ripe. And when it's not ripe, you can still use it, and it's really increased in popularity in Western cuisine recently as a vegan alternative to meat. So the texture can be quite meaty, and so unripe jackfruit is also used in curries, in stews, in casseroles, as a savoury dish as well.
Wow. It's quite sweet then, is it? It's quite a sweet fruit.
When it's ripened, I describe it as almost like the quintessential tropical flavour.
Nice.
So for me, it's a cross between, yeah, exactly. It needs more recognition. It's like a cross between banana, mango, pineapple even. But some people do find the scent of it quite strong. When it's overly ripe, it can be very sweet, which I think some people can find a bit intimidating. But when you eat it, it doesn't actually taste quite as strong as it smells sometimes. It's one of those fruits. But I would really urge anyone who's listening, who's never tried it before, just give it a go. It's so delicious.
Yeah, for sure. Let's hope they do them in Spain. I'll have to have a look. So it's not just your average cookery book. This book is also the story of Bengali food and its place in Britain.
Yes, that's right. So I really wanted to write a book, tell a story that talks about the migrant community of Bangladeshis in the UK, and really to sort of shine a light on not just our food, but also our experiences. So my grandparents arrived in the UK in the late 1950s, early 1960s, and worked really hard to make the UK their home. But it's a story that's not often told. It's not often heard about outside of sort of our community. So I really wanted to honour that. And I thought the best way to honour it is to tell the story through this narrative, but to punctuate it with recipes that really bring alive the reality of how we lived our lives. And so I really would like readers to try these recipes because it makes it so much more interactive. So when you're reading about my grandfather arriving in Manchester with the promise of a job and just the one suitcase in 1956, I'd love readers to be able to eat the things that he was eating and to really bring that experience alive.
That was your grandfather, Habib.
Yes, that's right.
And is that where
you read the book?
So is that where your love of cookery came from? Was he into cookery or your grandmother?
It's really a family thing. So everyone's into cooking in our family. My grandfather actually ran a restaurant in Manchester, then later expanded that to 2 restaurants. So he very much was into cooking from the point of view of a business. It's how he supported his family, his 6 children. And obviously my grandmother was responsible for then looking after the family and cooking on a domestic level. And it's a really interesting thing that when you cook for a living, you often don't want to cook at home. So they both cooked, but for slightly different, well, very different purposes.
Yes, of course, of course. And I was looking at some of the recipes that are in the book. There's a jackfruit kofta curry and lentil fritters. Do they all contain jackfruit, or was just that the title of the book, the Jackfruit Chronicles?
Yeah, so that's just the title of the book. So the recipes are very wide ranging. We've got meat and chicken dishes, we've got sweet dishes, we've got vegetables and lentils and all of that kind of thing. And we've also got some fusion dishes in there as well. So it's how we adopted the flavours of our English neighbours and really sort of made them our own. So there's a recipe in there for a shepherd's pie, which is made from keema. Yeah, so that's spicy minced lamb or beef curry, and then topped with potatoes. And that's a dish that we all make in our family because it's sort of our blending of these two cultures, which we claim and adopt as our own.
Yeah, one of my favourite dishes, that is shepherd's pie. Love shepherd's pie.
Oh, well, I'd love to know if you could give it a whirl, this sort of Bengali spin on it.
Yeah, it sounds great. I'll have to check out the recipe. Another recipe that's in the book is aloo murgi, and you're going to tell us how to make it.
That's right. So aloo murgi is the quintessential comfort food for most, if not all, Bangladeshi children. It means it's chicken and potato curry, and it's always made with chicken on the bone. If you can't get hold of that, chicken off the bone is fine. But on the bone makes it taste really tender, and it's just extra delicious. And the potato is always really sort of comforting as well. And you have that with hot white rice. And every child believes that their mother's version is the best. And they are correct, because of course your mum's version is the best. But yeah, it's a dish that I always ask my mum to make for me when I come home to visit. And it's a firm favourite for my two children as well. So that was one of my most personal recipes that I put in a book of very personal recipes.
So do you want to go through how you make it then, the aloo murgi?
Yeah, absolutely. So you start off with about, I say 1 kilogram of skinless chicken pieces. It really does need to be skinless because the skin would just sort of make it a bit too gelatinous. So you don't want that. So your skin's off. And in a wide lidded saucepan, you would want to heat some oil over a medium flame, and you'd add some onions, some ginger and garlic, and salt. So it would translate to about a heaped teaspoon each of crushed ginger, crushed garlic, and a medium onion. And you saute that until it's really lovely and soft, really melting. You don't want to rush that part. You want it to be golden, not too dark. And then you would add 2 medium-sized tomatoes, roughly chopped. You want them really ripe and soft. It's a really good way of using up, actually. If you've got tomatoes that have been hanging around your fridge a little bit longer than you want, chop them up, throw them in, and you would simmer that until the tomatoes start to become really soft and pulpy. Now, this recipe does use a variety of spices, but please don't be put off because you've probably got these in your cupboard already. And if I'm really honest, if you don't have all of them, you can still make it. And, this is a recipe where there's room for improvisation, so don't be put off. But you would add a teaspoon of turmeric, hot paprika. You don't want smoked paprika in this. You can also add some chili powder if you like it. If you don't, then you can leave it out. And then 1.5 teaspoons each of ground cumin and ground coriander. So that's turmeric, chili, paprika, cumin, and coriander. And you saute that in the mix for another maybe 30 to 60 seconds or so, just until the smell of those spices starts to mellow a bit. Then you take it off the heat, and you want the mixture to cool a little bit. And I love using an electric hand blender for this bit. You can also put the mixture in a blender and blend it. But what you want is for it to be really smooth. Don't be tempted to skip this stage because that's what gives you the really velvety sauce. So you blend that, and then you add the next round of spices. And again, don't be put off by this because you've probably got some of them already, but you'd add a piece of cassia bark or cinnamon whole, a couple of bay leaves, and maybe 2 to 3 cardamom pods, green cardamom pods. You add that into the sauce and the chicken pieces, and you stir to make sure that all of the chicken is coated in this lovely sauce, the onion mixture. And then you cover it with a lid and simmer it for about 10 minutes. Now, you can just have it as a plain chicken curry, but I really think that where the magic comes in is to add in the potatoes. So I use floury potatoes because I really love how they start to disintegrate a little bit into the sauce and make it really thick. So 2 medium sort of King Edward potatoes or Maris Pipers, peeled and chopped. So you add the potatoes in with the chicken after it's been cooking for about 10 minutes. And I add a cup of hot water at this time, just because you want there to be enough water for the potatoes to cook in, and you want the water to cover all of the chicken and potatoes. So you can add a little bit more water if you need. And then at that point, you give it another stir, pop the lid on and simmer for about 30 minutes, 40 minutes on a medium heat until the chicken is cooked through. And my top tip for knowing whether a curry is ready or not is that the oil that you've cooked the dish in should start to rise to the top. So when you see like an oily sort of bit forming on top of your curry, that's when you know that it's done. And then I love to serve it with hot basmati rice or chapatis or paratha, any kind of flatbread.
Oh, it sounds delicious. It really does. And that one's in the book, is it? The Jackfruit Chronicles?
Yes, that is in the book. And if I'm really honest, it's probably the dish that I make maybe once a week. It's definitely a family staple.
Sounds lovely. Well, for our listeners, you can buy the book now from our website, tre.radio. It's called The Jackfruit Chronicles, A New Tale of Migration, Love and Identity, told through one family's recipes and their search for home. It's by Shahnaz Ahsan, and it's available now. I know that this is, I think, your second book, isn't it, Shahnaz?
Yes, that's right. So my first book is called Hashim and Family, and that was a novel that again actually was based on my family's experiences coming from Bangladesh to the UK. But it's I really wanted to sort of take that story and bring it alive in a different way. So yeah, it's been a very interesting move from fiction to food, but I feel very lucky that I get to tell these stories in different ways.
So do you have a website as well?
I do, yes. So it's shahnazahsan.com.
Great stuff. It's been great to chat to you. Good luck with the book, and thank you for being on today's Culinary Corner.
Thank you so much for having me, and I hope everyone enjoys it.
I'm sure they will. Thank you, hun. Bye-bye.
Bye.